How many times have you heard the world is going to end? There have been countless calls throughout history that this is the case. If you're a millennial or older, you likely remember the Y2K craze, where people thought that the lack of coding 4-digit years into computer software would cause the collapse of governments and financial institutions across the world. If you're a boomer, you may remember hearing your parents or grandparents talk about the Comet Scare of 1910, in which the passage of Halley's Comet over the world was supposed to poison the atmosphere. Those are the most recent main threats to society. Or rather, they were, until climate change. First broadly recognized with the creation of the Environmental Protection Agency in 1970 by President Nixon, climate change and global warming have become increasingly important issues in the subsequent 50 years. It is now apparent that the impacts of global warming will be entirely catastrophic to society as we know it, if they are not kept in check. In order to keep these impacts at acceptable levels, the amount of average global warming must be kept below 2 degrees Celsius, and preferably below 1.5 degrees. At the upper limit of that range, 37% of the world's population will be exposed to severe heat waves at least once every 5 years, while at the lower limit, that number drops down to just 17%. If global warming drifts above that range, many of the world's most important places, both culturally and economically, will be lost to rising sea levels. This includes Alexandria, Egypt, Shanghai, China, Bangkok, Thailand, Mumbai, India, Ho Chi Minh City, Vietnam, Jakarta, Indonesia, and New York City. Furthermore, shorelines will be eroded, and in some areas, vast amounts of land will be lost to the sea. 40% of the world's population lives within 100 kilometers of coastline, and that land, depending on the elevation, is absolutely fair game to be permanently flooded under high sea levels. Climate change is caused by human activity, and it's our job to help fix it. Specifically, climate change is caused by greenhouse gas emissions. These gases reflect radiant heat from the Earth's surface back down to the surface instead of allowing it to escape into space. Carbon dioxide is the main gas that humans have caused an increase in. Our daily lives cause lots of carbon dioxide emissions, and a major way to cut those emissions and thus decrease the threat of global warming is by transitioning transportation away from fossil fuels and towards electricity. During its manufacturing process, an electric vehicle produces 15 to 70% more carbon emissions than an internal combustion-powered equivalent. However, during driving use, the electric vehicle will break even for lifetime carbon emissions after just 6 to 24 months, depending on the location and how much it's being driven. The transportation industry as a whole accounts for 29% of United States carbon dioxide emissions, and consumer transportation, such as personal vehicles and the package shipping trucks that we rely on every day, especially during the given crisis, account for 86% of that total. By electrifying those vehicles, a noticeable chunk would be taken out of U.S. carbon emissions. They would be only a starting place as well, as they would lead to other industry sectors being made carbon-free. These changes could be accomplished in a few ways. First, a tax incentive for anybody purchasing an electric vehicle. This incentive should be valued at minimum $6,000, or 3/4 of the difference between the average selling price of a gas-powered car and an electric vehicle. It would thus eliminate much of the sticker price shock of electric vehicles. Consumers can be expected to understand the other $2,000 in that difference come from savings from not purchasing gasoline and additional decrease in required maintenance. Funding could come from divesting from fossil fuel sources or from a tax imposed on car manufacturers for producing gas vehicles. Cleaning up the transportation industry is less difficult than it seems, and it is truly, absolutely critical to the continued well-being of the Earth. To reach out to your elected officials, visit www.usa.gov/elected-officials. Thank you for watching.